welcome to the Mega Podcast, where we delve into the inspiring stories of entrepreneurs, motivational coaches, and business leaders. Join us as we hear about their journey to success and the challenges they faced along the way. We'll uncover their secrets to perseverance and determination and gain valuable insights into what it takes to reach your goals. The journey may not be beautiful, but it is always purposeful. So sit back, relax, and be ready to be inspired by those who have dared to dream big and make it a reality. Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to a brand new Mega Podcast, aka the A.M.P. And I'm your host, Mega, and today we have a wonderful guest. All right, homie is a thought leader. He is an author in everything pricing and how companies can use pricing to drive higher growth, sales volume, and profits. He's a very much sought after speaker for various conferences, and he's here with us today to share his journey and a couple of tips to success. The one, the only, the price whisperer, Sjofors. How you doing?
What an introduction.
You are
pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you. It's because you are a boss, you are an amazing entity and a force to be reckoned with, and I'm glad to have you on this program for a bit to chit chat and dive into that brain of yours and your journey and all that good stuff.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be on the show as well.
Thank you. So, tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from originally, and what were the seeds of your journey?
Well, I'm natively Swedish, and I left Sweden though in 1986, and established a company in Switzerland, and was there for a few years, and then I ran another company out of London for a few years, and and then in the mid-90s I moved here to Los Angeles, where I still am. And I came here to establish and run a division of a fairly large public company, and after that I had another 4 CEO jobs. In all these instances, we did experiments with pricing only because I had an interest in it, right? And some of those experiments were very, very successful, meaning that next quarter revenues are up 25%. Many were real duds, they didn't do anything. And what I had learned in business school about pricing was so academic and theoretical that it was useless information. It didn't help us understand why some of those experiments worked and others didn't. So 15 years ago, I decided I was too old and too opinionated to be a hired gun. So I set up my own shop, and I decided to take that interest in pricing and develop a process to make every pricing experiment a success. And that's what we still do.
So let me ask you, where did this interest in pricing come from? Because out of all things in the biz, that was what you were attuned to. What was the keys and seeds to that interest?
Well, it really started in that company in Switzerland that I ran. We were I founded the company, but I wasn't it was with investor money, and we sold mostly American made electronics through a European distributor and reseller network. And what happened was that we came in very low in price. We were not the market leader, and honestly, we tried to compete on price, and with products that were that was often way more beneficial and feature rich and so forth than the market leaders. And I suddenly realized that we were selling at very low prices to our distributors and resellers that marked those products up sky high. So what it led to was that we had very low margins, and the manufacturers I represented have very low margins. and our resellers had tremendous margin. So and that low margin that we had to live on meant that we had a hard time developing the next generation. We had a hard time providing the support that we really wanted, And so that was the first thing that got me thinking that this pricing thing is more complex than just trying to be the lowest price. And then when I ran this company in Europe, I was actually this was the European subsidiary of a Japanese company, and that Japanese company competed with some of the American companies that I did in my first company, if you like. And here we went into a situation that was quite the opposite. Here we had products that was not very feature rich, that was kind of boring in many cases,
A
and
generic type of thing.
yeah, and high priced,
Oh,
and because of that, we had much more resource to support sales and market development and so forth. And over a 3-year period, I quadrupled revenues in that company, and
wow.
much of it was because we simply had the resource to do market development in a way different way than I could do in that company in Switzerland.
Understood. All right. So you got to tell me then, why do companies do pricing mistakes? Like, how does that even happen?
Because first of all, business schools do not teach out pricing very well. They you go 4 years in business school, then pricing is at best a couple of hours, right?
An overview, an overview, right? That's it.
Yeah, and what they teach is wrong. The business, and I have to tell you this, I was asked to review an article that a professor at one of the major universities, I'm not going to mention any names, on pricing that he had written, and I told him that you can't publish this. This is all BS. This has nothing to do with reality, right? Using these same theoretical constructs that been using in pricing and price elasticity and stuff like that has been proven to have no connection with reality. And I mean, once I told him that, the conversation took a very abrupt end, And eventually, I saw the
Can't
article,
imagine.
and it was full of that traditional pricing teaching stuff that is completely useless, right? So so that's one. The other is that, the other is that companies don't understand that pricing affects profitability more than, I mean, if you look at any company, the resulting profits comes from only 3 variables. It's the total cost of the operation, it is the total sales volume of whatever you sell, and it's the price of whatever you sell. And as long as the price leads to revenues that are higher than the cost, you're profitable, right? But the interesting thing is that in a study that was done a few years back, if you do a thought experiment, right, and you say, what if we change one of these 3 variables 1%? What you'll find is that for the average company, increasing sales volume with 1% leads to 3.5% higher profits. If you can reduce your cost by 1%, the profit goes up with 5.5% for the average
What?
company. And of course, no company is average, but
So,
if you can increase your price with 1%, or if you can reduce your discounting with 1%, which of course is the same thing, profitability goes up with 11.3% for the average company.
oh my
And
God. So is this pricing an art or a science? Because I'm seeing the
no, it's a
combination of
science.
both here. Jeez.
It's it is absolutely a science. But you know, on that 1% thing, the at one point we asked a statistically valid sample of American CEOs which of these variables are most important to drive profitability, and 86% said sales volume. You know, so
Well,
so it's
that's that Wall Street mentality, right? So.
yeah, it's sell, um
There's more to
and there is a
more. There's a lot more to it than just selling, and I understand that. I come from the tech industry, so I get that.
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, and it's that whole having that understanding of how price and sales volume is related, that is so important, right? So
Mhm. So, can every company improve pricing?
um, about 96% of companies can improve pricing.
Ooh, let me
Yeah.
ask you about that 4% that can't. Why?
Well, it come from a study we did a couple of years ago, where we simply asked what kind of pricing um, uh, strategy a company has, right? And there's three main mistakes that companies do when it comes to pricing, and
Mhm.
there are more of them, but this is sort of high level stuff.
The top three.
The first is to is to price like a competitor,
Okay.
right? And pricing, first of all, finding the price of a competitor is almost impossible. Even if your competitor have prices on the website, you don't know what deals they're making,
Yeah,
right?
you don't know
You
costs.
don't know uh, what specials and bundles they have that is not published. You don't know if you click away from the website and then come back, you're going to see different prices. You
Oh
don't
yeah.
know if the website is geotagged, so if you call in from somewhere else, you will see different prices. And if your competitor doesn't have prices on the website, how are you going to find out? You can't. You can ask mutual customers, and they're not going to tell you. You know, they if they're going to tell you, they probably going to lowball whatever the price competitors have because they want you to have a lower price, right?
Of course.
Or,
It's a scam.
and you can't really believe what they say. So, and the biggest issue with looking at competitive prices as a base is that it's often the very first step into the commoditization death spiral, because you start by pricing the same if you can, and then you start having the same feature functions and the same messages and so forth, and suddenly you're a commodity. And in a commodity market, the lowest price always win, right?
Yes, true.
And that leads to lower and lower margins, less and less money for market development and product development and so forth.
Wow.
So competitive pricing is a big no-no. The other big no-no is simply guess, right? Some some let me tell you a story. I had conversations with, this is quite some time ago, maybe 7 years ago. I spoke to the CEO of a SaaS company, and he said, I decided the price is going to be $165 per user per month. right?
Okay.
Um, but then he continued, but I don't know if that's the right price. Maybe it should have been 99. Maybe it should have been 250. 165 felt right. Now, this was like 7 years ago, and I just recently looked at their website. They have the same website they had 7 years ago,
Oh wow.
right? So that company is probably not doing too well, right? Um, and so guesses and gut feel and stuff like that. And some companies, some CEOs I'm talking with, they say, "Oh, we'll send our salespeople because they know the marketplace. They know the marketplace." How do they
Wow.
know? You know, and we instruct them to take the highest price they can. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, these companies are leaving oodles of money on the table. And then the last one, which is done by many sort of older school, if you like, manufacturing industries and retailers and stuff like that, is cost plus. So you have you calculate the cost of your product or your service, and then you add a margin on top of that. And um, and it's sort of funny because different industries have different rules of thumb for margin. Again, manufacturing often 35%. Take cost, add 35% of that on top of it, maybe 50% in some cases. Um, some high tech industries have 5 times cost, or even 10 times cost.
Hmm.
Retailers typically double the cost, right? And it's the problem here is that the costs have nothing to do with the value you deliver, right?
Yes, there we go.
And there is one more thing that nobody thinks about. Assume, let me give you an example. Assume that you make some device, and the cost is 50%, $50, right?
Correct.
And
Okay.
in the rule of thumb in that particular industry is to double cost, so your price is going to be 100,
Okay.
and so your margin is 50%, right? Um, let's then assume that for whatever reason you manage to lower the cost of manufacturing cost of that device to $40, which means that the price now is going to be 80.
Hmm.
Now, um, that means that your percent margin is still 50%, right? But your dollar margin have gone down from $50 to $40, right? So you actually lowered your revenue with 20%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and companies
What a
don't
way
think
to
about
look at
this.
it. What a
Yeah.
way to look at it.
Yeah.
Jeez, no wonder you're the price whisperer. That's deep, man. Let me tell you. Wow. All
Yeah.
right. So what are the benefits? We're talking about okay, getting it right, but what are the benefits once they get it right? What are the benefits they could gain by better pricing?
Well, again, let me use examples more than, I mean, basically you when you price right. Now, there's more than just pricing. So what we do is that, and the method that I developed is that we go out to a marketplace and we can accurately measure willingness to pay. And from that, we can predict sales volume and revenue at different prices. And this often means that you can make sure that you're not that you price either for profits with a lower sales volume and higher prices, or for maximum sales volume. If your prices are too low, sales volume will go down because um, it sends them a low price sends a message of inferior quality.
Yes,
And
it's cheap.
obviously, we've all been, yeah, I mean, we've all been there. We hold
Yeah.
something in our hands, and we think to ourselves, I kind of want to buy this, but at this low price, it can't be any good, so we won't, right? Um, and But actually the almost the major benefit comes from when this prediction is segmented, right? So
Mhm.
it's possible to segment that prediction of sales volume and revenue at different prices by different customer profiles, right?
Okay.
So the company can focus on the customer profile that has the highest willingness to pay and therefore support higher, more profitable prices than other customer profiles. Likewise, with feature functions and benefits. So the company get to know which of these feature functions and benefit will support higher prices than other feature functions and benefits. So those can be either developed if they're not developed yet, or they can be used as as the company's marketing and sales literature, right? Then the same
Yes.
with marketing channels and marketing messages. So it's possible to identify which channels and which messages support higher sales volume and higher prices than other channels and messages. And finally, the same with sales channels and sales methodologies. Which channels, which methodologies, and why um, uh, do they differ in what prices they can support? So this all becomes really a plan, a go-to-market plan for any company who wants to elevate itself to the next level. And I have oodles of customers who grown 4 times the size, quintupled in size. Some have even grown to 10 times their size over a couple of years. Because once you price right, you get additional resource for market development.
There you go. And additional resources, market development, more product, more opportunity. And there we go.
Correct.
And you
Yeah.
keep building. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Even hiring the best people, right?
Hmm.
That the company may or
So
may not have had the opportunity to do so prior.
absolutely. So let me ask you, does it matter then if the company is a B2B or B2C? Does it matter if the company sells
No,
products or services in order to work on
no,
this?
no.
No.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The because the buying the way we do and I said that I've developed a process, but we at the same time we're also standing on the shoulders of giants, right?
Mhm.
Um, uh, and 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 the first one of those is Peter Drucker, the guy he's said to invented modern management. And one of the things that he said was companies rarely knows why buyers buy, right? Why customers buy. Um, and that's true. It's very, very difficult for a company to understand why somebody buy, or maybe more importantly, why they don't buy. Then Warren Buffett said the most important criterion for investing in a company is whether it's got pricing power. And then he also continued to say, and pricing power is the ability to increase prices and not lose sales volume, right?
Oof.
Now, those are sort of business shoulders we're standing on. We're then also standing on 3 Nobel Prize winners in something called behavioral economics. And behavioral economics is all about an understanding of how we make decisions, and particularly purchase decisions, right?
Mm. Okay.
And it's that understanding that whole psychology, um, that whole very complex process that goes on in our minds in a blink of an eye when we make a purchase decision, yes or no, right? Because
Hmm. So in an
there's
instant.
only yes. It's just yes, no, or later. That's the only choice there is.
Yeah.
And and as humans, we are not very rational, right? we we can be we can be swayed to do our decision this way or that way, which is
Hmm.
one of the reasons that advertising work, right?
Yeah, exactly. They get into the
So
psychology of you for a moment, and
that's
ding,
right.
ding, ding. If they hit the right bell, next thing you know, you're on that phone. Hello, let me get three of those.
Yeah, that's right. But but I mean, it's the understanding of how that decision process works, that lies behind of really the um, most excellence in pricing, and
Gotcha.
very few companies, like I said, 96% of companies um, doesn't really do good pricing. So they don't they don't take the effort that they could to understand that process.
No, I agree. Again, I've seen this, and sometimes just to get the deal, they let me undercut everybody to get the best price. But at the end of the day, the company may suffer, like you said, make that minimal profit and really, what is this? Hopefully, we're banking contract over that the customer will love this so much, then we could up the price a bit and they stay with us. I don't know. Tricky stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm digging it. So talk about this website of yours too, folks. Check it out, folks. This is a great website, strategy services, especially if you are a business person, entrepreneur. You're trying to learn over here. You need to learn. The Price Whisperer is
Yeah,
here for you. So talk about this website.
well, there's a tremendous amount of content on the website, and you have links to many articles I've written. I've written in. I'm a contributor to Forbes, and
Oh wow.
I've written oodles and oodles of articles. There's also on the website there is a masterclass in pricing, and these are 19 video episodes of that really covers everything there is to know about
Oh,
pricing, right? And
really?
it's uh, obviously it's something that we charge for, but um, there's a lot of work to doing that masterclass, I can tell you. So,
Well, again,
but it's
listen. If you want to be top in your game, you're going to have to invest in self as well, right?
yeah,
what are
absolutely,
you
yeah.
worth? What's your price? You know what I mean?
Oh
In
yes,
order to step into the game.
yeah, that's right. I mean, and luckily enough, we've actually done a project on ourselves, so we know how we should price our services, right?
Oh, you did a
Um,
project on yourself. Wait a minute. Talk
yeah,
to me
eat
here.
your
So
eat
you
your own
you
dog
created
food,
this.
you know.
Yes. Talk about that then. Here you are. You're building this wonderful, wonderful coursework and whatnot. How did
Hmm.
you price this then? Let's get into how you applied your own uh, knowledge into
Well,
pricing this.
well, it's really it really comes from I do seminars in pricing, and the price of that online seminar is similar to the price of the online seminars I'm conducting, right? So
Oh, okay.
that and so obviously on the website, as I said, there's 19 video episode. An in-person seminar is well, it's a day, but it's really 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the same price. So we've actually
And
found in many cases that companies are willing to pay higher prices for what's online as opposed to what's in person.
oh well,
And
yeah,
I
the
think I
accessibility, I
see,
guess.
yeah, that's right. And I see you found the page on my book that is here as
Yes.
well. Right.
Hey, look at
Um,
that baby right there. So talk about this book. Where can we get it? What type of information are we gonna pull from here?
oh, you're gonna there's the best way of finding the book and finding me is just Google the Price Whisper. And I'm saying that because the book is distributed by Simon and Schuster, so it's
Okay.
available in every bookstore in the States. and of course on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and you can buy it from Target online if you want that, and so forth. So it's a it's an Amazon bestseller, and
Ooh, nice. Congrats.
yeah, and I have people posting pictures of them with a book on LinkedIn and saying, "Oh, this is such a great read," And when I
Wonderful.
checked
How do you
yesterday, there was
feel?
only. I'm obviously very proud that I can add value to the readers, right? And teach them something that they didn't know, because they even if they went to business school and learned about pricing, it was not not very good information they got, right?
Hmm.
So
Amazing, amazing. Folks, you see this book here, man. Oof. And it goes one of your
I'm sorry.
seminars, huh? And that's one of your
Yeah, and
seminars
there's
that I'm
also
seeing here on the page as well.
yeah, that's right. And there's also there's a bunch of guides. The bestseller, if you like, is 7 easy steps to increase prices and keep your customers happy.
Hey, there we go. Then that means
Yeah.
everybody's happy. So you figured it out. I
Well,
love it.
you, s- yeah, you see, this is there's always a process in increasing prices, and it really works every time, and you have to follow that process.
Oh,
And it 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 it's all about communicating why you need to increase prices. And
communication is
the
key.
mistake that the mistake some companies do is they just one day just prices, especially when you do a subscription service. Uh, One day prices are just higher without anybody telling you why, right?
Mm.
And there's a one of the large OTT services is famous for this. The only way you know that they increase prices is that they charge more on your credit card. So and that
Yes.
that sort of
Cancel.
works.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's right. Because
You better
because
tell
they
me.
didn't communicate why.
Yes, you better tell me you're raising the price because I need to see why. Am I going to get more out of this? Is something better coming?
Correct.
Am I going to get more product?
Correct.
I mean, come on. Make it worthy for me too if you're going to increase the price. I know exactly
Yeah,
who you
exactly.
mean and how dare they.
Having said that, good good pricing practice is to increase prices with a few percent every year, right?
Okay.
Because a few percent nobody's going to notice. And it's a different story when you suddenly increase prices with maybe 15% or 20%. But a few percent
Oh yeah.
nobody notices and nobody cares. And a few percent doesn't seem like much, but if your company is like an average company, if you if you go back to that 1% sort of thought experiment that we just mentioned a little while ago, if you increase prices with 3%, and you're like the average company, your profits are going to go up with more than 30%, right?
I gotta ask you, and I really want to ask you something here though. Now we're talking about this pricing and stuff. What if something was originally free and all of a sudden somebody comes in, spent a lot of money on buying this company, and now says, "Well, we're gonna go from free, and now we're gonna have a paid tier."
Mhm.
Um, what's the science between making a price for something that was free to now offering paid tiers? Like, what's the logic behind that in science?
Well, it's very interesting actually that I read an article in I guess it was New York Times yesterday, and it showed what happened when New York Times introduced the paywall, which was what 10 years ago, and I think the article was
Yes.
to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the paywall, and they introduced that because they were obviously losing paper copies, and their revenues
Yeah.
declined. But the interesting thing with that article was that initially there were very, very few people who signed up for the paid version of New York Times, right, online. And for the first 4 or 5 years, it grew very, very slowly, right?
Right.
Um, but then at about 5 years ago, it started to grow much quicker. Now, what happened 5 years ago? Well, just about in every other online newspaper introduced paywalls, right?
Mm.
So suddenly you had a situation where if you wanted quality news reporting, you had to pay it. You know, there was no,
Hmm.
and still is very few, if any, high quality news outlets that offer their content for free.
Yeah.
And then
Int-
then you have a choice of paying for this or paying for that.
mhm.
And that's when this started to grow quite spectacularly, right? But revenues for New York
Wonderful.
Times, based on this article, is still not as high as it was when they relied solely on
Mm.
subscriptions and advertising.
Or their heyday,
So
if you will,
yeah, that's right.
of print.
Um, and freemium, as many, freemium is a great way of introducing a new product um, to customers, and they try it for
Absolutely.
some time, and then once they get used to it, you have to start paying. Now
Yep.
there is a couple of gotchas when it comes to freemium, though, and first of all is that whatever the product happened to be, it needs to be very easy to use and understand. Otherwise you wouldn't, otherwise you'll have a
Hmm.
confused customer who's not gonna buy it once the free period is over. So it needs to be a very intuitive product to use. And 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 the second, of course, is to understand what features and what features should be in a free version versus what features should be in a paid version. And that comes that prediction of sales volume in again, where you can define which product features and product features or services that people are willing to pay for, as opposed to the ones they're not willing to pay for, right?
We're about to get hit for that though right now in regards to, for example, AI, right? ChatGPT was free, and
Yep.
now they're starting to come up with ideas of what is this worth. Uh, Dolly,
Yep.
Midjourney, other AI applications started free. They give you credits, you fell in love, and then when your credits run out, like, oh man, I have to pay if I want to keep playing.
Yep.
It's a great way to
Well,
hook you. It
games
is a
have done
great way.
this forever, where you have
Oh
the
yeah.
game is free, but then you have in-game purchases.
Oh, this whole digital currency, yes, like games like Roblox, for example, have their own commerce, if you will, within the game. But you're
Yeah.
spending real money to get these things that you can't even touch. That's wild to me, but
But
hey, it is what it is. It's the future. I tell people I'm a print man. I like to read the book, smell the ink digitally. It's one thing.
smelling, yeah. The
Yeah, I want to smell
but
the
it's
ink.
it's a um, it's all about lowering sales friction, because also when you do it that way, um, not only do you entice people to use the product, um, but but they also feel that they are in control of what they're buying. So the customer satisfaction is increasing, right?
Yes.
As opposed to you buy something and you find that you're not you're not using very much of the product, which is one of the um, one of the issues that I have with one of the more popular productivity suites that are out there for companies, right? You know, 10,000 features and you use 5 of them, right? And you pay for all the 10,000. You know.
Agreed. All right, so I want to ask one last question before you go today, because
Sure.
I know you're a very busy individual. What is the single most effective advice that you give the listening audience today?
Well, the simplest advice I can give audience is increase your price. You know, if it doesn't work, you know, you can always go back to where you were, right? If it does work, which is likely, you suddenly make more money, right? and
Yes.
um, and and make it, and if you want to increase price substantially, go and download my guide. There 7 easy steps to increase prices. If you don't want to give up your email address and stuff like that as to register to get the guide, you can always buy it from Amazon for $3.99. You know, it's the same one. You know, so
It's only $3.99. So if you pay $8 for
no,
Twitter, you could
yeah,
afford
that's the
$3.99
guide.
to improve your
This one
pricing.
is more this one is more expensive.
Oh,
It's just a guide.
yeah, but listen, a
So
guide is a guide, and if it's going to guide you to success, it's definitely worth the $3.99. All right,
yeah,
and then that
absolutely. Yeah.
book, folks, as you heard it, you can also get that on Amazon and everywhere, your favorite bookstore. The links are below. So again, please visit the website. All right, follow my man Per on LinkedIn. All right, check it
Thank
out.
you.
Great
Yeah.
tips, great stuff. Per, thank you so much for your time, sharing your knowledge, and sharing your knowledge with me here, but of course sharing your knowledge with the world. We need more people like you that are
Well,
trying to make the world a better place for everybody to make some bread. So thank you.
that's right. Thank you so much, Al, for your time, and thank you the audience that has listened in, and I hope I added some value to all of you.
I'm sure you did, Per. Thank you so much. And everybody, thank you again for tuning in. Check out my extended family over at comiccrusaders.com as well as undercovercape.com. And if you enjoy the AMP, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Hasta la próxima, mi gente. Much love.
All right.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the A.M.P podcast. We hope you've enjoyed listening to the insights and stories from our guests. Remember, success is a journey, not a destination. And every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goals. Don't give up on your dreams and keep pushing forward. Until next time, thank you for tuning in and stay motivated.